I'm a human and I have my own limitations and fears and concerns and distractions and emotions and wounding and my own healing work to do while I'm here. It's just that I'm open a little bit more than, I don't know, a lot of people to energy and able to discern and translate that. But yes, I am a human that kills plants.
By accident.
This podcast represents the opinions of our hosts and guests. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. This podcast also does not establish a standard of care, doctor-patient, or client relationship. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website. And because each person is so unique, all listeners are encouraged to connect with counseling and medical professionals for assistance with their personal journey. All people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect the privacy of those involved.
Welcome to We're Not Fine. I'm Dr. Talia Jackson.
And I'm Doug Jensen. We thank you for listening every week to our deep and thought-provoking conversations about relationships.
We are just going to dive in, and usually Doug and I do our banter, make each other laugh, and then we dive into our interview.
But we're going to do it different?
Yeah, because Kaya's here. And
I
she's
know!
Gonna join our banter.
Yes.
And
Okay.
if you guys, was that a message from the great beyond? If you guys remember Kaya from our episode last year, we've decided that we love her so much, we're going to make it an annual thing. That every October, even though Halloween has nothing to do with what you do, but just like to be closer to our loved ones lost. She is the psychic and medium that we had on last October. And it was still, I'd say, the #1 most popular episode. People loved you.
It's
and
an honor.
they're still listening all the time.
Do you hear dead people?
That
is
was
what
the
we
name
called
of
it.
the episode.
Yeah.
And it drew a ton of attention.
Yeah.
And we're so happy you're here.
Thank you.
And we have so many questions.
I have a question about even the intro.
Yeah.
Does Halloween have nothing to do with what you do? Or is it a meaningful time?
It's a meaningful time, yes. No, Halloween doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what I do because it's a round a year kind of thing for me.
So
It's not a seasonal
the energies
day.
are
It's not
every
a
day.
seasonal, but it is a time of year that, just like Dia de los Muertos,
Yes.
it's a time of year that we say that the veil is really thin, so that communication point between here and the great beyond or the great before, great after, whatever we call it, is very thin. So communication is a lot more strong around that time to talk to our loved ones and our ancestors.
So does it feel challenging during this time for your...
Oh, no.
No?
No.
You like it?
I like it, yeah. Because
Okay.
I'm just like super tapped in at that point and it's comfortable for me.
I love it. So
Wow.
you, just in case I didn't say out loud that you are a psychic, which means that you're just like interpreting messages from who? Who are the... And
I say our light entourage.
Yes.
So these are our loved ones, our passed on loved ones. Some people say that believe in archangels or whatever. I just say that this is a part of your light entourage. So whoever, whatever is of your greatest and highest good, then it comes to me in a form of energy, if you will, and then I translate that energy into words so that I can share whatever the message is for people.
You know, this is our second time with you, so I think we answered a bunch of these questions the first time, but now that I feel like I know you better, because we've had some outside of the studio experiences as well, I am curious about something. That energy that you talk about, is it something that impacts you physically, or is it just emotional?
Oh my gosh, it's both.
Okay.
It's all things.
Right?
Yeah, we are all made up of energy, and the way that we understand it as humans is emotion and feelings, but it's all energy. I often talk about walking into a room, and maybe if you don't know what has gone on in the room before, but you can feel that energy permeate your space or your being. It's, well, what is that? Well, then that can also progress into an emotion, be it that it's in anxiety or sadness or anger, and we don't even realize that it could just be the space that's impacting us or the individuals that are in that space. So it can kind of really get interesting once you start really peeling back the layers and understanding. But yes, I believe it's all of it. Energy is everything. Everything, even this table that we're sitting at, it's energy was put into it, and it's holding a particular frequency to be able to hold the things on the table. So yes, that's my long-winded answer.
I really love that description. It makes you kind of, it makes me anyway more in the moment. Mm-hmm. Like I start to think about everything in this room and my elbow on this table.
Yeah.
And the purpose that it serves, right?
And the idea of like the frequency, I'm really curious about. And because we also, like, some of our questions, it's about just like relationships and soulmates, or like our energy and what our frequency is attracting or repelling, which I mean is a really interesting thought to think about it as frequency.
Oh yeah, because everything is. And again, if we're getting messages from we're literally getting bombarded with messages and energy all day long. We're just choosing to or not to engage with it, co-create with it, create a story, whatever that is. We all have our free will, and we get to decide how we're co-creating with that energy that, again, is influencing us or impacting us. So, everything, the sun hitting our skin is frequency, taking a deep breath in and just simply being present is a frequency, being with people that you love is a frequency. So it's just, I often ask people when they're feeling misaligned or off balanced or anything that's dense, deep and hard or challenging, to just go back to what is home? What is your baseline? What does that alignment feel like, and do the practices so that you can feel that, so that you do know, oh, this isn't necessarily a frequency that I'd like to pair with. I had a old friend say that sometimes the energy is, or even when you're manifesting, that it's like a Bluetooth, where it's like you are one of those pieces of the pair, and then that energy or that thing that you're trying to bring is another piece, and that you need to match that to make that happen. Yeah. So it's thinking about that, like, what are you pairing to bring these patterns into your life? What are you pairing to bring these experiences, or just to keep reliving them over and over again? And how can you pair to something different?
I don't know if people even think that they have control over that.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's like everyone has had that experience of like walking into a room and feeling like whatever that feel like people were fighting in there before. You just feel that heaviness. Or if you're going every single day to work and it feels really toxic, or a relationship that you're in.
Speaking
not that anyone knows anything about that.
We won't go into that.
But it's like I think it's really interesting to just say, hey guys, wake up. We actually have some control over the frequency that we're letting in, and paying attention to what doesn't feel good to us is maybe the most powerful way that we can acknowledge and control that.
It's definitely getting people to slow down to have that moment to check in with that, because we're just so used to going and going and going. So even in the realm here of a toxic job, so that's a misalignment, right? Like you can feel the chaos, you can feel the sad and the frustration, but it takes a moment to stop and to, again, figure out what is that baseline. And, this feels really misaligned. This is creating a lot of chaos or taking a lot of energy, and I'd like to reset. What does that look like? And then you can pair to something else.
What's so interesting is, and of course, as everyone probably knows, we have a script that we kind of go through as we have questions for our guests. I'm not even interested in looking at it right now.
Is that because I wrote it?
No, I love everything you do. I don't know if I've said that, but everything you do.
I mean, I just have decided to disregard all of these questions.
So did I put any work into a questionnaire, because I'm not interested?
Ask whatever you want, Doug. Just kidding.
I'm feeling your energy coming at me, and it feels negative.
That's a frequency.
My frequency just went like...
You know what's so interesting about this? I'm just going to ignore all of that. But I'm going to say that, what you're talking about feels so much similar to what we do. Like helping people understand what's in their control, what's not in their control. And, the mind-body connection, et cetera, that we focus on a lot in our work.
By this time in our work, we have like 5,000 inside jokes that it's really
That's
hard for
one
us to get to like the real meat of it.
And I realize when I touch Talia, people can see me doing that.
see.
And that's a signal that that's an inside joke. But Kaya, I want to go back to something you said. You said, go back to home when you're finding yourself off. How do you recommend people do that?
There's so many ways. I'll give you the general just kind of overview. So I try to get people back to joy. And recognizing what that is for people. Sure. Reminding them that they have the permission of joy as well is sometimes even a barrier. And sometimes you have to work through that first because people feel guilt or they feel selfish if they experience joy for themselves. But the biggest thing is getting people back to joy. So there's an author, Louise Hay, and her book, You Can Heal Yourself, that a lot of people are familiar with. And her work is very profound. One of the things that she says in the book that I talk about often is she talks about heart attacks. And she talks about that our hearts do not attack us, but we call it a heart attack, but that we attack our hearts. And the heart in the metaphysical realm is a symbol of joy. We understand it to be joy, and or a joy center. And then the blood that gets pumped through our veins is the joy. And so it's what is that gets us back to that joy and listening to the beat of our heart, because that's when we come here, it's keeping the rhythm with our joy, and there are distractions and things that happen that knock us off of our path and understanding our journey, our soul's purpose. So I ask people, what is it that brings you joy? And then I ask them to make a joy list. So like one of mine is I love live music and concerts. Nice. I love dance so much. It brings me lots of joy, keeps me in the present moment. I love buying plants, even though some of them die. I just buy more, and then we don't talk about the ones that die.
I'm the same way. We don't like to talk about my brown thumb and how I'm incapable of keeping something alive.
No, you just buy another one.
Yes.
You know what's so interesting about that very comment, though? I realize you probably get this a lot, but people assume psychics always know intuitively what to do.
Oh my God.
Like what move to make, what
plants. Like my
relationship
plant is dying, so I better go water it. I'm feeling that. So people assume. Isn't that funny though? Yes. Like people assume you must know everything about everything, right?
Yeah, I do get that every now and then.
I bet you
do. Oh, you probably already know. And I'm like, actually, so like I'm in this limited flesh body. I don't know. I'm a human, and I have my own limitations and fears and concerns and distractions and emotions and wounding and my own healing work to do while I'm here. It's just that I'm open a little bit more than, I don't know, a lot of people to energy and able to discern and translate that. But yes, I am a human that kills plants.
By accident. It is
not
an
the best
choice.
Quote from today. I am a human that
not on
kills
purpose.
plants.
So if anybody has anything to take away from today, it is that your home is actually joy, and plants. Kaya accidentally kills plants.
I do.
But she's still remarkably.
Is it an accident?
Are you a murderer?
You have to mess. I have to have the shared terror for plant lovers.
Oh my gosh.
It makes me want to talk about death, but we're not ready to talk about
Well, let's move on to this unbelievably well, thoughtfully written itinerary that starts with Doug's first question.
Oh, is that my cue?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Doug loves to be told what to do.
I love when the drill sergeant shows up. Drill Sergeant Jackson. We're going to talk about intuition.
Okay, good.
Did you almost spit out your water?
I just need to swallow it.
You just need. It might be hard to do. We were going to talk about intuition, and like the question that I think is a really good one is: does everybody have it? Can everyone find that sort of gift in some ways that you have? You are already nodding yes. And then I think a lot of people feel like when they have dreams or they have intuitions about people, or deja vu is something that I hear a lot of people talking about. Like, what the hell is that?
Oh my gosh, I could literally expand on all of those.
I know.
Do.
We have 20 more of those.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll let's do the Cliff Notes version, huh? Okay, so the first one, does everyone have Intuition, intuitive ability. Absolutely. I believe that everyone does. Oftentimes is what I find when I sit with my clients is when they're like, I don't know what my gifts are. I don't know if I have abilities or if I'm psychic. I end up highlighting what they actually already do, which is always really fun because they think that there's like a whole lot of work and things to unlock. And well, yes, just like an athlete needs to practice to become better and more agile and more skillful. Like, yes, you do have to do the same thing with your psychic abilities and your intuitive development, but everyone has it. We're all I believe that we're all supposed to be in communication with the divine, and that it's supposed to be this beautiful divine GPS that's giving you divine directive all the time on what to do, what to not do, and that we're not just out here in the wilderness.
Alone, which is what most people feel. I don't know many people that naturally are tapping into the great, the divine,
the
light
brain, right?
Yeah. Where is it? How can we contact
this? It's everywhere all the
GPS?
Time. It's everywhere all the time. I tell people it's even just, it's as simple as just walking out of your home and seeing 3 crows nearby. It's like, there's something there where you're just like, okay, there's something here that feels like there's more than just crows sitting outside of my house. What is that? That's where I get people to start having the conversations with themselves and being really curious. Like, what is that? And again, when you can go into spirit animals and animal totems, well, crows represent something. Well, what is that? Right? And then sometimes I'll give them a little bit of a tidbit, like, oh, crows stand for this, and this is what. But the fun and the self-discovery is then me sending them on that journey of, now go look it up. Go see what that's about. Go to a metaphysical store, grab an animal spirit book and see what you find and you understand about it, because there's something that's so much more sacred when you have the experience yourself and the knowing and what you take away and you're able to discern. So it's everywhere all the time. And then you asked about dreams, even dream interpretation. It's a whole other realm that I could also expand on. It's another very magical realm. So even people are like, I can't do mediumship or I don't understand it. And I'm like, really? Because when your loved ones pass away, they do come to that realm. It's not just a part of our imagination. Psychic ability and intuition is a part of your imagination, which is why kids are so magical. But anyways, I'll shelve that.
Oh my gosh.
We need another episode. We're going to write down these issues.
Yes, write down for next time.
I am going to write them down for next time.
A year from now.
No, because I'm available. So, yeah.
Can you talk about deja vu?
Yes.
Oh my God. Like, it is such a thing, because I can't tell you how many people say, I feel like I've seen that before, or I've done that. And I will tell you, I've had it happen a million times.
I will tell you what my definition of deja vu is, my understanding of it. I believe that when we are, as I say, at the divine table of creation, when we're creating this story of who we are, who we meet, who we've incarnated with before, I believe that it's a part of our soul as we're going through this experience, remembering the creative process and the pieces when we were at the divine table, which is why I believe that it feels like that aha moment when you have a deja vu, that you're like, pause. This feels familiar. There's something there where you're like, I believe that it's a part of the soul going, you're on the right path. We created this at the divine table. No matter how crazy and chaotic life feels right now, we wrote this. So keep going. Keep going. So I feel like it's a beautiful signpost to keep going. And a beautiful aha moment for your soul.
Keep going in the way that you are, or keep going, because you know what I do when I have deja vu? I'm like, what happened next? Like, I try to remember, so this happened. I've seen this before. So then what happened next? And is it going to be the outcome that I want it to be?
Yeah, it's like, well, what's act 1? Are we in act 2 or 3?
But it's more just keep going and trust that you're on the right path.
Yeah, it's to continue to go. You're sometimes I feel if you pay attention to when deja vu show up, usually to the point where you're like, what am I doing? What's going on? Your soul is asking, again, tapping in with that divine GPS of like, what is happening? Yeah. Is this right? This is too much chaos? It feels like misalignment. Am I on point or not? And then you have the deja vu and it's like, this looks familiar. I remember walking into this place and meeting this person. I believe that it's a little wave of awareness and frequency from the cosmic brain that says.
And maybe affirmation?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so I have seen just like so many little signs that I have decided mean whoever that is, the light entourage, my guides, whatever that means, which I don't know enough about, but I see so many signs of affirmation. Like if I see 1111, if I see a heart-shaped rock, if I see a cardinal, I'm sure it's my dad. If I see a blue jay, I'm sure it's Papa Barry.
Or you see me.
Dad. And then when I see, what's your name?
Smart. you did say when I see
a blue jay. But this is what I'm wondering is like, I have decided that every little thing that I see is a sign of like, I love you. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
Except I haven't exactly put any meaning to anything that might be like, oh, honey, wake the fuck up. Like, what are you doing? This is the wrong move. So what is that feel like?
What's that feeling? I feel that that's the complete, you can feel the misalignment in your body, in your being. And I feel that that's you have moments in your life where you're just going along and then you can feel one of my teachers calls it the cosmic 2x4.
Oh.
Yeah, we know what those moments are where you can feel the misalignment. And even when you look back, you're like, I knew that wasn't right, but I kept going.
We just had that. Like we've just had it. Like we were just talking about that. I do know what that feels like.
You do.
And it does make you want to stop and be like, okay, we need to regroup.
Yeah.
And that didn't feel good.
You did hit me with a 2x4. So
I hit him with psychic 2x4s sometimes.
Sometimes,
not intentionally, or is it?
Kaya's like, yeah, let's roll with that.
I'm
Talia.
like, no,
sure.
It does. You can feel
That's
the pullback of the cosmic. You can feel the smack coming, right? Where you're like,
I don't love that. Yeah.
No. And there are beautiful lessons of expansion in that. And then you do know, I often talk, so I'm also a yoga instructor. So like during yoga, we talk about stretching to the appropriate edge.
Oh, okay.
And it's not pushing beyond what your body can do, but just being very honorable. And this is what I'm capable of. And I'm going to celebrate that in this moment, even if I'm holding it and everyone else in the class is going further or less, whatever that is. So it's that appropriate edge is where is it? This is the edge. We can all feel where that edge is and where we need to pull back or just be in it.
Tuning in and strengthening our own intuition, this is what I'm hearing you say, is really just even first acknowledging that is inside you already, and that all you need to do is start paying attention to signs of maybe like, oh, this feels so amazing, I feel so in tune or aligned with something, or this feels really uncomfortable, I do not feel in alignment with whatever's happening, this feels icky and gross and something has to change.
Yeah, it's when it feels like you're forcing something, when everything doesn't necessarily sync from one hand to the next, and you're just it's that driving down the street and then you're hitting every red light, and we know what that feels like when we're driving, and we know what that feels like in life, where you're just like, okay, you can feel that like you're bumping up against something that says stop, just stop for a minute. And sometimes it's not stop everything that you're doing, but just refocus and have more intent in what it is that you're doing. Because again, frequency, pair, match, you don't want to also continue co-creating with madness and chaos as well.
So we also identified that you are human and you kill plants. I am curious, Kaya, what you would say about your ability to really stay in that place. Like when something doesn't feel right in your own life as a human.
Yeah.
Do you pay attention in the way that you're talking? Because you talk really beautifully about all of this.
I'm human. So I do definitely have those moments where, and I'll take it a step further even, just to increase the intensity. Sometimes I have to be very careful about having a lot of awareness around spiritually gaslighting myself even.
Wow. Tell me more.
Yes.
Oh my God. I love that comment.
Because sometimes if, for instance, so spiritual gaslighting looks like I don't know, I leave here and I see that there's a bunch of bird poo all over my car. And then I'm like, oh God, this must be a sign. from the birds that
I should not have done that podcast.
I shouldn't laugh
person.
so hard. I feel like I do that too sometimes. Is this a bad omen?
And to just like, it's not, it's just like, oh my God, now I have to go to the gas station and clean up all this bird poo off of my car.
It's
and
like
that's
an
what
earthly
it is, right?
inconvenience, not like the universe being like,
we have blessed your car with bird poo. Like, this means I need to go fertilize my plants. Like, no.
oh my gosh, that's what the universe is saying. So do you feel like you get all of these like signs and messages that you're not sure always if it means something or not?
I do. And this is where I ask people to just go back to gratitude, because even if we don't know what the message is, there's something in it. Okay. So just get really comfortable in, I don't know what this is. I don't know why this rabbit is right out front of my door every single day, but thank you for the message. Thank you for your medicine. Like it's walking in that gratitude practice, because it's the closest thing to unconditional love is gratitude. So it's holding that frequency to continue to, again, pair with more things that are more high vibrational experiences. But yes, to answer your question, yes, I do have times that I keep going and I'm like, is this not? Is
like
this
it's
something?
not clear.
Yeah. And then I pay attention to, again, those moments, as you and I were talking earlier, those moments of, okay, wait, now I'm having trouble engaging in the things that brought me joy, right? Because I'm human. So then those things are going to show up. Like, what does this look like? Are these questions that pop up if there was someone that's depressed or anxious? Like, what? Yeah. That's misalignment, right? Especially if there's an episode or an event of it and it's not this ongoing, prolonged thing, because we know that would be depression or anxiety, right? But if it's this event and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, then as we talk about shadow working it. Well, where is this sadness coming from? Where is this frustration coming from? Why don't I want to get out of bed? What's the thing? And then you pull on that string until you find whatever that root is that has you tethered to the thing that has you uncomfortable. Pull that up, explore that. Can that go? Wow. And then what can you do about that? What do you have in control as far as what you're able to do and how you can co-create or not with it?
Well, the interesting thing, going back to my earlier comment about how similar your work is to what we do, like I would call that cognitive behavioral therapy, right? Like really kind of challenging what's real about it, taking a look at what your options are behaviorally to change it. And what thoughts are like in the way of you being able to get out of bed. I realize this is a little different realm of conversation, but boy, it feels so similar. And that's why I think that ability to kind of stay in the moment and live every day as thoughtfully as we can. Yeah. I'm very struck by the fact that, people ask me a lot, do you ever shut off your therapy brain? I really never do. I'm always analyzing people. I'm always thinking about what makes people do what they do. And it sounds like you have that same experience where, even bird poop might be like, I wonder if this has meaning. Or the, whatever it is that, our the cup that you got chosen, to use today. Yeah. Like, what is the point of it? No drama, I think it says.
No, I know.
But there's a lot of this. Like, I just find myself aware that, the ability to shut some of that off. I really loved that spiritual gaslighting comment. Yeah. Like deciding what's real, what's not real, what should I pay attention to, what shouldn't I? But really pay attention to everything. Yeah. In some ways. Yeah. Which is
and then
really
just make a choice, just knowing that even if you don't have the answers, that everything is a choice point, just having that keeps you empowered in this human experience, and knowing that you're not just not in control of something is so powerful to know. Oh, even though this is uncomfortable, I have a choice. Even if that choice is uncomfortable, I'm not going to completely give my power away in this moment.
It's crucial. I'm thinking about the connection of just like we're always trying to kind of think about our next move or the choice point. And in these moments where, adrenaline, anticipation, excitement, all like cortisol, all of that sort of feels similar sometimes. And so trying to even think like, okay, this is a choice point, a lot of unknown. I'm feeling all this energy around this thing. Does that mean what? Like, how do we even translate
Yeah.
that?
So I talk about that moment. I often talk about alchemizing fear into excitement, because sometimes when we're in that moment, our body doesn't understand, is this excitement? Is this fear? What is this? So I often talk about that moment of when you're on a roller coaster, or you're getting ready to get on a roller coaster and you're in line, right? Like think about here in Minnesota, the Wild Thing, where you're like standing in line, you're like, this is terrifying and I might die. And you're not.
Right.
Like probably not.
Right.
Right.
But you might.
But you could.
However, there's a chance.
But you could.
Yeah,
But
you could.
you could. Yeah.
But there's that moment that you're standing in line for something like that, and you're flooded with all of these emotions and feelings, and it's how can you take that, where you take that you standing in line for the roller coaster into another place in your life and go, I'm feeling flooded with this. Let me sink into this. What is this? Okay. Why am I fearful? What is this? Okay. How can I turn that fear into excitement to be excited about this thing that's going to happen?
Do you know what's so interesting about this? I mean, we talked about this a little bit last year as well, but what's so interesting is that what I'm hearing is that it isn't like we're sitting and waiting for a sign from the universe that if there's energy around it, we need to figure out, like, is this something that's exciting for me or not? It's not just like, what's my next right move? I'm waiting for a sign, but we have to actually figure out if it's right for us.
That's the biggest piece that even where I'm talking about manifesting and bringing things into your reality, you can't just sit and like, gee, I hope I get a this and that, or I hope that this comes into my life. Like we must have action and do something to bring that into full fruition, bring the full manifestation full circle. We can't just sit there. So it is that it requires action, and the execution of that action is when we again pair to the thing that we're asking for.
And people talk about manifesting all the time. This isn't even on here. I did write down, I kind of was curious about it though. Are you psychic? So weird.
No,
that you do that.
not at all.
But like, is there, so if somebody is wanting to like manifest something big and important and beautiful into their lives intentionally, like, what do they do?
Oh my goodness. Like this is a whole class that I do.
Know. I feel like
I'm going to give you the cliff notes.
So you have to pay for that,
I know,
Talia.
I'm really
We
sorry.
I need to have her sign up.
I'm like, how fast? You have a sign up. Well, you know what?
That's pretty good.
At the end,
We're going to make sure people know how to sign up.
We're going to tell people how to find you, and I want to sign up, like, to whatever that is that you're going to create.
You got it.
Us.
I feel like I have a big question that I can't stop.
But she didn't answer the manifesting.
Okay,
Did we say that we're
manifest.
not going to do that right now? It's too
Because
big.
people pay for it at their class.
No. I'll
How
give
The Cliff Notes?
the cliff notes.
Yes.
Yes,
All right.
Doug, the
I
cliff
have
notes.
to know. Inquiry minds want to know.
Okay.
I'm ready. Manifest big thing in life.
You're going to steal this and then, anyway, go ahead.
I'll steal you with me to do it.
So when I talk about manifesting, and it's interesting when Doug talks about the psychology piece and all of that. So I also have my hypnotherapy certification, and one of the things that's really interesting is when I took that class, it was the same thing. It's just that I was doing it in the metaphysical sense.
Okay.
Manifesting. If there is something that we want to manifest, we're looking at the outcome of whatever that thing is. We dive our five senses into it. Okay, so talk about a car. So I'm going to kind of walk these two parallel, but they're the same ultimately. We talked about this in my hypnotherapy class, and then I also talk about this with my clients. We're manifesting a new car. Submerge your five senses in that. I'm in the car. And not when you manifest, it's very important to not think about the thing coming, because then you're co-creating with the energy of it's not here and it won't come. But I'll keep that energy going of where is it? I hope it comes.
Yep.
So you submerge yourself in the experience as if it is already so. That's the biggest thing about manifestation. So when we're talking about a car, it's I'm inside of the car. I feel the leather on my hands. I can smell the new car scent. I feel the heat on my back because it's a hot day and the leathers burn my back. Oh my gosh. And all of the emotions and everything around that. Then after you do that, so I take people through a really submerged experience in that, then you let it go. Because the thing is then you say, I'm submerging myself in all of this. And if this or something better comes, I trust that. And so shall it be. So it is. And then you let it go. And then either that or something better comes. So again, it's kind of like when you're back to the plants, when you put that seed in that dirt and soil, you don't go back and you pick that seed out to look at it to see, well, has it sprouted yet? You will kill it, right? So you have to leave it there and trust that the water and the sun and everything is going to take care of it. And that part metaphor. Is love. Yep. Continuing to water it with love and trust and appreciation and honor and abundance and knowing that you're pairing to the outcome regardless. And then also the piece of that where some people say, well, Kaya, you know what? I hear you, but that's crap. Like, I want the thing that I'm asking for. Well, also, it's being open to that thing that you're asking for may not be of your highest and greatest good. So then it's having appreciation and honor for that too, that you're being held from and held in that divine essence of, we know that this is what you want, but this is not of your highest and greatest good, but trust that I have something better for you.
Ooh. I was kind of struck by the car idea because it feels very materialistic in the big scheme of things, but because there's
we are humans.
We are humans and we want things. Like, yeah. I want to know before we go forward, how do you feel about the word psychic?
Oh, that's a good question. I actually, on my website, because sometimes psychic has a bad connotation and kind of snake oily.
So does shrink. We're very familiar with, like, the sleazy. Because the bad people in our professions ruin it for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me in my realm, that's kind of that old fortune teller, like, woo, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen next Tuesday. Like, cool, tell me. No, I don't know the lottery numbers as I always speak of. I don't know certain things because I'm human and I don't know nor would I want to. My God.
Right.
I will tell you, I made a joke before you arrived. I said, she is so beautiful. I said, but now she knows that I think that because she's psychic. But you
she also knows that because we tell her.
I just sent her a message that she's
telepathically as I'm in my car. I'm like, oh, Doug.
Doug,
yes.
Doug just said yes. Thank you,
and
Doug.
I'm like, thank you, Doug.
Well, I was coming to visit you for a session. I don't remember how long back. And I remember I was really struggling to look for parking. And you sent me a text. You're like, take your time. Parking's hard. And I was like, this is weird. I was like, are you psychic? I'm literally having trouble finding parking.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
We have gone rogue. I mean, where are we?
We've gone rogue.
I don't know that I want to keep,
I have one.
Okay.
It's a listener. Okay, so we had a couple of listeners, a couple people write in about some really juicy questions. So when you are talking to someone or you're in a moment and you get full body chills, what does that mean?
What is that? They're cold. I'm just kidding.
I noticed
You're a human being and it's winter.
It means a bird just pooped on your car.
A layer of clothing. No.
Just kidding.
That was really deep. That was a really great question.
That Talia's face was awesome.
It was good.
I'm so disappointed. It has so disappointed.
They're cold. When they have chills, they're cold.
What does it
Put on
mean?
a freaking sweater.
Okay, so as we talked about that pairing of the energy, the Bluetooth pair, it means the vibration of truth is what I tell people. So if you are talking about something, you're like, ooh, I got chills. There's something there that we can agree on that seems like this energy outside of us that flows through us in that moment. And you're just like, ooh, I got chills. There's something that says, that's true. I don't know why. I don't know how, but there's a truth that's vibrating through me right now. That's what I consider chills to be. I have that happen often when I'm doing readings and I'll be getting closer to something. It's kind of like a Marco Polo. And like, and I'll get to that place and then I'll say like, oh, okay, so I'm getting this, and this, and then chills. And then the person will also say like, oh my God, I have goosebumps all over. I have chills too. And it's because we just hit the ding, like it's that energetic frequency of, yep, you're on point, or this is warm, this is hot, you're fire. Yeah.
I have that. Do you ever have, I have that in therapy with people, and I will always
Chills?
say it out loud, like full body chills, because I also feel like whatever you just said, whatever just happened in that moment, because it's usually when they're working through something big and they're getting close. And then I'm like, that was it. Bam. I'm like, whatever that was. And then I've never had anyone be like, oh yeah, I also got full body chills, but they will also just be like, yep, that was the ticket.
I don't know that I get chills so much. I feel like how I do therapy is I stare a lot and try to see through people, which I've been told many times that I look like I'm staring through people when they're in my office. And I work that way. I just am intensely trying to take in all of their information and their energy. And it's a fascinating way of working. And I didn't know I was doing that for a long time.
I would see, and if you were sitting in my office, I would say that's you discerning the energy rather than actually reading the person.
Okay.
So you're actually sitting in front of them, and it's reading their aura, their energy, and going like, ooh, okay, yep, that's significant. I'm gonna put that here and shelf that.
So Kaya, I don't know that I mentioned this in the conversation we had last year, but I have a client who repeatedly gave me messages from, it was my father, and then it was my dog.
Your beagle.
My beagle. He said, what you do in this room is exactly what you just said. Yeah. He said, you have an innate ability that you use with us as your patients. So that's really a beautiful, thank you for that as well, because it's a beautiful way of looking at it, because I find myself in a zone when I'm with people, especially when I first meet them, I'm trying to understand who they are. I really just find myself staring without a lot of affect. Yeah. And oftentimes people will say, I'm sorry, what are you thinking? I'm like, I have to gotta get back into the space, because I get lost in it, because I'm really trying to read. Yeah. I am trying to read people.
Because it's coming out of the physical expression and experience, right? It's something greater than that. It's tapping into the cosmic brain that we're all connected to, where you're sitting in front of me and I hear you, but I'm actually going to go up here to your higher self. I'm going to get the information.
That's fascinating. It feels that way to me. Yeah. It feels very meditative. Which is
it's intrinsic, right? Like it's a trance that you're.
It is a trance. Into. I feel like I'm in a trance.
But you're getting information. You're tapping into something that if you were completely 100% like right here, you wouldn't be. Yeah.
And I do not. I mean, it's interesting. I forget that I'm in my office because I'm just with that person. So I'm loving that. That's very wonderful. We have so much to talk about. I just want to stay in the moment, but we have to. I want to talk about other things. Kaya, when you and I've watched you now. I brought a very dear friend of mine to you and was able to sit in the room as well. And it was fascinating to watch how messages were coming. I remember some very specific things. As you know, I was moving around and I was laughing a little bit because some of the messages were wild. And at one point even you said, so they want me to say this to you. And you didn't feel comfortable saying it, but you said it anyway. I don't know if you remember, because I remember very specifically what it was. But I'm curious, when these people or these entities or these energies talk to you, when you're doing a reading, are they voices? Are they images?
Ooh, everything.
Okay.
Everything. So when I tap into the light entourage, so this is where people may watch videos like and they'll see that the person is talking to one angelic presence, and I don't connect with one high frequency presence. I open it up to an arena, is what I tell people, of your light entourage. So the information comes through in so many different ways. I'll be sitting with someone and I will maybe hear or see their loved one, and they're like, hey, tell so-and-so I said hi. And they may not have this big, long message, but it might just be like a hello. And then it'll move through a different frequency within that light entourage. And then I'll hear something else that seems like a gentle, beautiful nudge. And then I'll move through another part of that. And oftentimes, so while you say that you're staring through people, sometimes I'll close my eyes. Oftentimes I will close my eyes and I'll literally see the words in like big bubble letters or like words. Incredible. Oftentimes I will even get reels, like videos and movies play out.
Okay.
And then sometimes I'll get none of that and it'll just be energy and I have to sit with that, and then I'll have to, let me translate this energy into words so that I can express whatever it is that needs to come.
What do you understand the difference being between energies that you're getting versus very specific messages? Is that the person you're reading? Are they the person that is influencing that in their life, or
the person on the other side? That's such a good
Do you know,
question.
is there any common thread?
As in if there's a passed on loved one that's giving the message?
Yeah.
Why are some really people getting very clear and some energy
that's more vague?
It depends. It depends on what that person needs that's sitting with me. Okay. It's all about that person. So if they're sitting with me and they're going through a very specific thing, the message that's coming through is going to be very specific. If they're sitting with me and it's very, I'm just here for whatever the universe has for me, which some people will say, right? Where they'll sit with me and I'll say like, okay, boom, blah, 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 and it'll come through. Yeah. And then sometimes a loved one from their light entourage will say like, hey, tell so-and-so I said hi. And then it's very general. But if that person shows up and they're in deep grief because they miss that person so much and they're working through that, then it's going to be more specific. It's going to be, okay, so the house is in a wreck, and then I'll be shown, okay, there's piles of documents that need to be looked at, and hey, there's this one specific document that's in there. Please make sure that you get this one to so and so.
Wow.
And so it really depends. As far as me, it's a discernment thing for me too, in the practice that I have had, and knowing and feeling, okay, this is this person, this is their angelic being, this is an archangel, this is their higher self. This is like because of my training and my practice, can work through the discernment and the intricacies of where these messages are coming from and what needs to be said.
Incredible. It leads me to, so you helped me so much when my cousin died last May.
That was actually one of the hardest sessions for me in my whole entire, since I started doing this publicly since 2014. That was definitely one of the most, where one of my teachers talked about, she's like, sometimes you help people, and she had this joke where she would talk about helping people and then going home to cry in her closet because she has to work through the emotions of holding that space for that person, and you're submerged in it. And because we're such deep empaths, and because we can feel the energy and all of the emotions around it, we have to go through that too. We have to process that too.
I can't even imagine if you're having, because it's like, it is right here for me. If you have to feel that for everyone's grief.
Sometimes.
Maybe similar to us as therapists.
Yes. Sometimes. Because you're so submerged in the deep love that you're holding, and it's so sacred and so intimate, and you're holding that for them. And I've known you for a while. So even when we had to talk about certain pieces of this, and then sometimes you have the responsibility as that metaphysician, that energy holder and bringer and light bearer, you have that responsibility to keep it real. You do.
Right.
So when these questions come, and you're like, oh, crap. And
you're like, I do not want to tell her all these horror, because I reached out to you in crisis, like, he was not dead yet. He was on the brink after a heart attack, right? Like holding on to two different worlds. And I was like, Kaya, what the fuck? Like, what's happening? Is he going like this? And you did have to give me some really hard information.
I did.
So when that happened, when he did end up passing, I went down this like rabbit hole of like, well, where is he and where do people go when they die? And I was listening to all of these, like, I don't know, podcasts, reading all the books of like near-death experiences and like what happens. But like, you know, are they still themselves? Do they then go and find the people that have passed that they once loved?
Absolutely, they do.
And are they still connected to like the cast of characters that they've loved on Earth?
Yes.
And where their souls, are they like floating around and like having tea? And then when they see you about to meet with someone, do they like come? Like, where are they? What are they doing? Yeah. And how does it work?
They're in the great before and the great after, which is just complete unconditional love, complete neutrality and harmony of unconditional love.
So they're not still suffering or in pain or...
No. The only time that I have encountered disembodied energy that is sad or unhappy is when I go do home and space clearings, and when I need to help cross people over, because that's another thing that I do. People that are bound to this realm, those are when you hear like hauntings of homes and stuff like that. Those are typically disembodied energies that are like, where am I? What year is it? How did I die? Am I dead? That's very different. That's very different, and that's a lower vibrational experience because you're coming up on that energy, and they are and then it's an empath, and you can then take that on too. It's that eerie feeling of where you're like, something happened in this room or in this space. I don't know what, but I want to leave. It's that. Usually, it's because there is a disembodied energy that is impacting your own energy and making you feel that discomfort because they are like, if you're going to put a medium in there that can cross people over, typically there's going to be an imprint or remnant of someone's spirit still there and freaking out because they're like, I want to go home. Where am I?
Gosh.
Is this home? Am I in my body? Especially if they die from trauma.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, is there something that causes people or souls to be in that space?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. For so many reasons. So I'll talk about just a couple of them. So one, if they were really, really devoted to their religious beliefs, they may sometimes feel like they weren't living life to the standard of God and that it's punishable. So then they must stay. So sometimes I'll have to have conversations with them.
So powerful. Look at this smug look she's going to talk about at Thanksgiving with some people, I can tell.
Keep going.
Sometimes I have to have conversations with them and I have to say, hey, like, our divine creator is not that of judgment. So you're free. You're free. You can go. I'll show you. And then as, again, metaphysicians, shamans, mystics, we will call in energetic beings. So typically these are specific archangels that come in to usher them to the other side. And I have a whole thing that one of my teachers talks about where angels are, we call them angels, but they're actually angles of light, angles of the divine creation that angles themselves a certain way so that the person can get what they need. So sometimes that's it. If a person has gone through a really toxic exchange with someone or like a domestic situation, or they've just been unsafe their whole life with this person, sometimes they will hold and bound themselves here because they're fearful that if they go through, they will encounter this person again. So we have to have a conversation around that.
Oh God. Yes,
sometimes they'll stay bound if they have someone that they love that was still alive that they left behind, be it that it was a lover, a child, or someone significant in their life. And then we have to say, hey, it's not 1942 anymore. It's actually 2023. And I'll show you to the door. Here's the way home. So it's really interesting. People keep themselves, or spirits, I should say people, but spirits keep themselves bound to that. So like that's what purgatory is they hold themselves bound in that space by their own beliefs and limitations and fear and however else we want to.
But so like let's just say then it's healthy. It's a healthy transition. They've let go and moved on, and it's a neutral space. And there isn't like a physical body. They're just these little like signatures of soul, but they find
just energy.
But then are they hanging out with their favorite people? Do they meet new people? Am I thinking about this too much as people?
Right.
What's happening?
I have
a little bit.
Go ahead.
A little bit.
Like they're not like having a cup of coffee with their favorite people and laughing.
If they want. So it's not necessarily that they hang out. That's still creating in your mind degrees of separation in some way. And there's no such thing once you cross over. Everything is one. Everything is energy. So yes, there are little signatures and essence of the human experience as we knew them here, and especially while we're still having our lifetime and our incarnation. But that is but just the smallest little speck of their existence and their creation. They're so much more greater and bigger. The energy is so much greater than that of which that we're thinking now of like the three of us are sitting at this table and this is this moment and whatever is in the outside world, I'm having a good time in here.
Okay.
It's so beyond that
But they will still come and like visit maybe like this cast of characters, just like
Correct.
they visited the last cast of characters.
Right.
That was
right.
And I'm going to throw in a listener question that I thought was so
Yay.
cute. And it's
do it.
about
Can we
Doug's
stick
beagle.
for a second? Is
Oh,
it about
sure.
my beagle?
Well, yes, we'll move on to Doug's beagle.
So I'm so lost in this conversation in a fun way. You mentioned people who might be very committed to their religion and maybe feeling like they're bound because they did not do what they needed to do or didn't feel right about it. I'm curious about people who have a definite opinion about, these gates and angels and all this stuff. And then they realize, oh, that's not it. Because from your description of what we experience when we die is not, for example, you mentioned purgatory, how people who are deeply religious would experience it.
Yeah.
So do people struggle? Like when they get to the other side and they're like, oh, fuck, gay people are okay. I shouldn't hate trans people. I should love gay and lesbian people.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, tell me.
That's awesome. Gosh, I could answer this in so many different ways. I'm going to give you one layer. We're all playing a role here.
You
Each
said
and
this
every
last
one
time.
of us
Yeah.
are playing
Yeah.
a role.
Yeah.
And we have to have a form of earth amnesia to continue that role and to be kind of in this trance of, woo, okay, I'm playing this role and I'm going to be the biggest douchebag on earth. Wonderful. Like, we did that thing.
Like, we need that evil villain in order to
we
know
need
who
it.
we are.
I just
and what we
assume not
stand
have
for.
them, but yes.
Yeah, it has to
say
be a
that, 'cause what if that's you
contrast.
next time?
Oh,
You're going
that's-
to come back as the
He's
biggest
like, that's
douchebag
impossible.
on earth. Squirrel.
I'm going to say that Kaya just said it was impossible. It said what?
Have you been leaning up against your microphone the whole time?
I don't.
I hope not, maybe.
So I actually looked at it and I was like, I think it's behind his shoulder.
Is it? I don't even know.
Kaya, is that like a great ancestor?
You're not in the moment.
That's
over
behind
his
your shoulder. Is there a bird pooping on your
Is there, what is the meaning of my...
What is the meaning of the mic over your left shoulder?
And then, I'm sorry, were you done with that question?
I don't even know.
I want to ask one more. I want to ask another one.
Oh my god.
So I heard at some point that people who are bound find the same space. Like they'll find a home that is filled with these people who are bound. Are you writing them down now so that we can?
I wrote that down because I don't know that I fully answered the question.
I don't know that you did either, and I don't know that I even let you because we were preoccupied with my shoulder microphone. And then you said the thing about like you help them go home.
Yeah.
Is that a light? Is it a tunnel? Is it a door? Is it
whatever they need. Whatever they need.
All right.
Whatever they need. I will say something interesting about that. Some people, so when you see these documentaries, movies, and shows where people, they bring in the priest or they bring in people and they clear the home and they're like, oh my
With a
God,
cross.
it's still haunted.
Yeah.
And you're like, how? We have to continue the co-creation of this contract. And some people don't realize how bound they are in this contract to keep the story going or the story alive because it's entertaining. It's kind of like even when you think about why people do self-sabotaging things. It's kind of like that, in that weird kind of essence of, well, if my home is no longer haunted and I'm not known as the house on the corner, the green house on the corner, then who am I? What purpose do I have? How am I not important? Because it's a lot of attention and drama to have a camera crew come in.
We call that like
A
secondary.
podcast.
We call that like a secondary gain. Like if somebody is unwell and desperately holding on to the symptoms of their unwellness, even with all of this insight and all of this work, that there's oftentimes that self-sabotage is exactly that.
Yeah.
Like, who am I without this? Like, this depression has been my longest friend.
Yes.
And I am nothing, or, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So that makes
and
sense.
there are instances, I'm not going to say that's impossible, but there are instances where I'll give you an example. Halloween, Amityville Horror Home.
Yeah.
So when we have
Red rum.
when we have places like that where something so dense and so awful has happened in one place, it does create a tear in time and space's energy and creates an opening, or what we call like a portal, things then can come in and come out. Oof. And that terror can keep going.
It's creepy.
Because it's a ripple. Yeah, it's a ripple of energy that just continues. And every now and then, it just gets this extra pulse and it stays alive. So a space like that, you could potentially send mystics, shamans, and metaphysicians to go and close that up. It'd take a lot of work. But especially, again, it's going to be intensified if people are driving up to this home and putting more energy in there. Like, there it is. That's the house. That's where it happened. Do you see now how there's a collective consciousness now that's feeding the story even more? And then more ripples. So this is why I also say that I don't believe in generational curses. I only believe in generational patterns and stories that are kept alive because of that. Because there's a story that's still feeding the belief in that string of consciousness.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God, that's so fascinating.
When you're driving around, do you feel these portals? Do you feel where they are? Like, oof.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was actually, I was out in Hastings and I drove past a house and I stopped at the stop sign. I was like, ooh. I was like, I'm like, do they know it's haunted? Or, like I could feel it. And I remember I was on the phone with someone and I was like, we were in a conversation. I was like, oh, I just pulled up in front of a like very, very haunted house. And I'm like, I wonder if they know. And then I just drove off. I'm like, whatever.
They're fine. They can call me. You should like leave your business card when you drive by.
You can just walk away from it or drive away from it in this case.
Because you can't save everyone. That's not like that's just too much, and people need to.
I think the three of us should try.
Save everybody.
We should
save the world.
Doug, you do that.
She's gonna watch.
I'm gonna.
Thank you.
Get my makeup done and with Kaya.
I evidently need powder on a regular basis these days, so yes, I need some too.
Okay, so that listener question was basically, does this also work with pets? Do our beloved pets, is it the same thing once they pass? Absolutely. Is Doug's beagle hanging out on the other side with other loved ones and kind of having a similar running through butterflies experience?
They do. Oftentimes I'll see if I'm having communication with someone that has transitioned. I will see what looks like a little globe or orb of light, but it's smaller and usually it's down by their ankles. And then I can kind of see like how big. And sometimes I'm like, was it a small dog or a cat? I can't quite tell, but yeah, they do. They hang out. I've also heard even stories of people on hospice that they will bring their pets with them, or their pets will come and then guide them through. Yeah, so they
was
do.
For you. You know who you are, and I think she's going to be so happy.
Yeah, they do, and they hang out still. So if you feel them at your ankles, it's not your imagination.
Kai, the interesting piece about this. So I have had multiple clients give me messages over the course of my 28 years. I'm actually very privileged to know people longer term in therapy. I do very long-term therapy. And people, yes, do get better, but they stabilize. Mm-hmm. The person who was giving me messages not only gave me a message from my dad the week after he died, but also then after my dog died, again, the message. And I asked him, I said, so why? Why are they giving you these messages to give to me? Because they were both, my dog in particular was a very simple thank you for the blue pillow.
Oh my God!
And I did not know what that meant. It was very specific. So I went home, and my older daughter, who was young at the time, said, "Yeah, he died on my blue beanbag pillow." And I was like, "Okay, why?" And so, why does that message come to me through this person, and why does everybody not get these? Because I don't think everybody does, right?
Yeah, you have to be open. You have to be open to receive it. Okay. And I feel that because of the work that you do and just what we talked about and just knowing what I know about you, I've had the honor of getting to know you, you're open to receiving the message.
Sweet.
And I believe that there's pieces where sometimes we are ready to deliver the message, but the person's not ready to receive it, or they're not open to receiving it, and that's important.
I have a really big question, and of course, we're already like needing to wrap up.
I don't want
to. So depressing, because
I'd like to cancel the rest of our day.
Me too. I was already in my head. I'm like, I need to let our next person know that we're going to be late because I can't rush through this divine moment. But so if you could say are there any themes from the other side of like regrets or advice? Like when people die, is there something that everyone's like, oh my God, I wish I did this more? And not just something really specific to their life, but like, wow, so many people seem to wish they did this when they...
Okay, so specifically talking about regret, that's not a theme that I typically bump up against when I'm hearing from people's loved ones.
Interesting.
Because we are playing a role, because we're doing the things, and everything was created at the divine table.
And they realize that.
They realize that the moment they take their breath on the other side.
Wow.
Yeah, and then they go like, I did it. I did everything that I was supposed to do. The only time, the only time that I really get regret, and this is for anybody that has lost someone that has taken their own exit point.
Yeah.
What I'm going to talk about, if you need to fast forward, that's fine.
Yes.
But those individuals that have taken their own exit point, or that they have chosen to end their incarnation here, those are some of the most challenging readings to do. Those sometimes when they do speak, it is as soon as they take their breath on the other side, after whatever the act is that has allowed them to transition, it's like they go, oh crap, shit, oh my God, what did I do? That's not what I meant to do. They immediately have a regret and remorse of like, oh shit. And then they almost have this shock when they see themselves outside of their body, that they're like, oh my God, I'm out, I'm not back in. Can I, chills. Speaking of the vibration of truth. That they're like, oh my God, am I out? I'm really out. What do I do? And there's a moment of panic. And then that's sometimes how they can get stuck in that purgatory. That in between is what I call that. Yeah. And then one of the things that one of my dear teachers said to me is that we have to be very careful of how we look at those that take their own exit point, because sometimes the greatest amount of healing is going through that veil. And it's hard for us to understand that, but sometimes the release and this incarnation is so hard, and I have so many circumstances or things stacked against me that I'm going back to the divine. This is it. I don't care what you guys say. I'm going back to God. And we have to honor that in some kind of a way, even though we work through our own healing and our own layers of loss and grief there. Yep. It is because regardless, death is very sacred.
So many people need to hear that.
Yeah.
And however we want to make sense of that, that is a sense of comfort that we're definitely, we're going to let people know to enter this conversation at their own risk, but that is such a beautiful, comforting message. And that's so interesting about the regrets. I mean, as always, this is like, we can't ever get enough of you. This is like mind-blowing, soul-blowing. Like, I just feel like whatever my frequency was when I came into this is now a very different frequency.
Yeah. I would have to concur with that. Like, I'm in a very deep place as a result. I almost started getting teary when you started talking about this last piece, because it's so painful for those who are still in this realm and living on this planet the way we are. I think the part, and I don't even know that I want to do as much of a cautionary piece as to have people really listen to what you said. Yeah. I truly, Kaya, because I was in Boston. I don't know if you remember this, but I was in Boston the last time we did our episode, and it was remote. And then I met you in person when I brought my friend to you. But having this moment with you just brings me so much more close to you. And I'm just so honored that you're here today. And I want you here repeatedly. Like, I feel like I have, and I started writing down other questions.
Oh, yeah.
I have so much more I want to talk to you about. And I think this is the stuff that all of us, we're all looking for the meaning of life. We're all looking for like why we're here, and what our purpose is. And you answer those so beautifully and without pause, by the way. Like, I'm very struck by how easy it is for you to talk about this. And I just love listening to you as you talk about it. But I feel very heavy about this, because the painful stuff that we experience has meaning and has purpose. And even if it's not necessarily what we want to hear, just really understanding it and letting it be is critical. I can't thank you enough. You share so beautifully. I have honestly very personal questions I want to ask you next time.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
I know.
I can't wait. Like,
you're going to be back by popular demand,
right.
no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
How can our listeners find you? And if there's anything that you're like, I've got this exciting thing that you want people to know about, like, tell us.
Yeah. So, wow, I got quite a few things come up. I just actually co-hosted a retreat with one of my good friends, which was beautiful. Fearless Spirit Retreat. So we actually combined all the things that we loved. We did dance and we did art and then also intuitive development, and we did beautiful ceremonies for releasing things that no longer served us. We talked about grief. It was very beautiful.
Wow.
Are
you going to be doing more of
We'll
those?
be doing more of them.
Great.
We've talked about it. I'm like, so Lulu, if you're listening, yes, we will be doing more.
And it shall be. And so it is.
So it is. Yes.
I manifested.
So
you have me to thank for that.
Thank you.
And Doug still whips that car.
It's already done.
It's already done. It's waiting for you right outside.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you both.
So the retreats, definitely, I want to mention that so people can keep an eye out for that. Yeah. I also do Power of 3 healing at Pure Serenity in Hastings. And this, if anybody talks about or is familiar with Reiki or energy work, this is much deeper than that. We forget about the energetic pieces of ourselves when we're going through healing. And we facilitate a space so that you can work through that. And again, we can talk more about that. But that's another thing that I do. And those sessions I recommend if people have gone through any major trauma, surgery, that moment that we talk about trouble getting out of bed, really deep depression or anxiety, loss or change. I also have my own classes, intuitive development classes that I'll be putting, now that I have a little bit more availability, I'll be putting more classes out about intuitive development, about manifestation. I also do one-on-one mentorings with people that want to do intuitive development, stepping into their gifts and understanding that. I do a lot of work with people that do have anxiety because that empathic part of us of picking up energy that doesn't necessarily belong to us, and people don't necessarily realize that it's not them. Could be the room, could be another person. So I do intuitive development on that. My gosh, I'm like,
and you also do a lot of readings.
I do a lot of
energy work.
I do house clearings.
Oh, what's your website? Like, how can people find you and on Instagram? And
so www.livinglifeluminously.com.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It will be in our show notes.
It'll be on our show notes. And, you know, as we always encourage people to go to we'renotfine.com and list our questions as well. If you have questions for Kaya for next time that she's going to be on, by all means, let us know as well.
Super fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And you want people to find you on Instagram?
Instagram? Goodness, I had to change it because I actually got hijacked. I think it should be livingluminously_official, I think is what I have it as now. Because
I think I'm still connected to you.
So I
know. I'm like, can I just message someone else random?
No. I actually changed it, and I kind of joke and I say, like, I must have reached a level of like superhero because the supervillain tried to take over.
Clearly.
Right?
Yeah, that's it. They pooped on your website or your Instagram.
My Instagram.
Yeah.
Is that a sign?
It is. It was a sign to add official.
Yes. Thank you so much. This was unbelievable. And yes, my heart just feels so full, and there's so many. We only got through half of what we have so much.
I don't even know that we got through half.
I know. So much more.
That's fine.
It is.
Friends, we know that you were blown away just as we were. And I always say that I'm obsessed with her, and Doug crossed out obsessed right here. And what did you say instead?
I could talk about Kaya for a long time.
That's called obsession.
Well, I might be obsessed now that we've done a second segment with her. She came to the studio, and she is just not only a ravishing beauty, but also on the inside. And the way that she speaks is so bizarrely eloquent and wise and gentle and consistent.
She's like a conduit.
She is a conduit to my electricity.
And we thank
Is that
you
funny?
all so much. They're there.
You're directing me again.
They're there. We thank you for tuning in, and we are so grateful for your support. We literally couldn't do it without you, because if it weren't for you, it would literally just be Doug and I.
Boring. Did I mention I love Kaya?
It's called obsession.
Maybe I'm in love with
Like
her. I'm going to have to evolve my thinking about that.
Are you questioning your sexuality right now?
Oh,
I feel like we're objectifying.
No, I know what
someone
my
that's
sexuality
like luminous
is.
And divine.
I'm sorry, Kaya. I mean, no disrespect.
HR department. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like and subscribe.
You missed me.
To podcasts wherever you listen.
Wherever you go.
And for extra bonus points, just rate and review, please. You love us. We know you love us.
And of course, if you have any questions whatsoever, we will be having Kaya back for more. And I will say that I even referenced this on the episode. But if you have any questions for her, because, I think spirituality, I think why we're here on this planet, like what the meaning of life is. I mean, those are the proverbial sorts of questions. Ask us anything. We will submit them and make sure that Kaya or anybody else for that matter, of course, we can answer them ourselves as well. But go to we'renotfine.com.
Especially about talking to your passed away dead relatives. Doug has messages for you from the great beyond. We'renotfine.com. Did I cut you off?
We'renotfine.com. Submit any questions, comments, anything you need. Let us know.
And find us on social media. Douglas L. Jensen with an E-N and Dr. Talia Jackson, and We're Not Fine. And we're also on YouTube, and it's We're Not Fine.
The tube.
Oh, guess what, you guys? We're not fine.
But at least we don't see dead people yet.